Hi, today we're talking magazine covers. No, not that one with Marine Le Pen, France's far-right presidential candidate, which came under fire for normalizing extreme views, but the other one featuring Kendall Jenner, America's fast-rising fashion ingenue. Soon after the drama of the stylist cover subsided on social media, trending on Twitter was none other than Kendall Jenner. And no, not for that barely there item of clothing I dare not call a dress that she wore to the Met Gala on Sunday, but for covering the 10th anniversary edition of Vogue India. Kendall Jenner, the influential millennial, had joined forces with none other than Mario Testino, the iconic photographer, also the guest editor for this special issue. The result? Beautiful imagery, admittedly, of Kendall Jenner alongside Indian actors Katrina Kaif and Sushant Singh Rajput at the Samode Palace in Jaipur, India. The problem? Casting a Junior Kardashian in the starring role and throwing in some local talent in supporting roles. For real, Vogue India? Choosing a white American to celebrate 10 years of brown excellence? Fair enough. Kendall Jenner may have been Mario Testino's first choice as a guest editor. And fair enough, the photo shoot is actually for a very good cause, raising money for the charity Girls Rising in support of the education of girls and women in India. And fair enough, if reports are to be believed, Kendall Jenner was the only way, or the only person through which, Vogue editor Priyatana could have scored such an iconic photographer to shoot for Vogue India. Having said all that, though, ignoring the fabulously talented and beautiful Indian women in favor of a non-Indian, no matter how famous and influential she is, it just doesn't make sense. Vogue India, if you wanted a global star for such a powerful issue, why not someone like Priyanka Chopra, who's got the Indian credentials, but also the international reach? I am not Desi, so far be it from me to speak on behalf of Desi people, but thinking of Vogue Turkey, I know that if they had cast an international star with no links or connections to Turkey, say, for example, Gigi Hadid, and thrown in some local talent in there just to make up the numbers, I would be seriously offended. And speaking of Gigi Hadid, this cover brings back the debate over the debut issue of Vogue Arabia, featuring none other than the half-Palestinian model. Many were outraged, not only with the choice of a predominantly American model for this first ever edition of Vogue Arabia, but also that she covered the magazine in a hijab, therefore appropriating a cultural element and her Palestinian roots for when it suited her. While these views are valid, let's remember that Gigi Hadid is at least half Palestinian, and hence perhaps has more of a right to the cover of Vogue Arabia than Kendall Jenner, an American, with no known connections to India or South Asia, to the cover of Vogue India. Kendall, of course, came under fire not long ago, trying to cut a heroic figure with a can of Pepsi. So it would be interesting to see how this Vogue India cover will help or hinder her career. But in the meantime, a note to Kendall. I know you've been raised with the privilege of ignorance of social injustice and racial inequality, and the notion that it's all business and you should fill the coffers while you still can. But it's also good to know that not all business is good for business. So when you're asked to trivialize social issues to sell soda, or to cover such a milestone edition of a magazine of a country that you have no connections to, perhaps the right answer is thanks, but no thanks. And to Pepsi, Testino, Priyatana, and many other power brokers out there behind such ill-advised decisions. Casting for a global cause, product, campaign in our beautifully nuanced and internationally connected world is far more complicated than just randomly picking a Kardashian, unless you're in the business of outrage marketing.